Okay, so would really like to give everybody on the call today a really big welcome. For those that don't know us and those that have joined us for the very first time, my name is Mark Raymond. I am the development manager for barbering for the UK for VTCT, and my colleague.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Nicola Steinbach, and I am the Business Development Manager across the whole of UK for hairdressing. And along with Mark, we run the VTCT Collective Programme.
Yeah, and so as we were saying, normally on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, even though we didn't have an event last month, we have the monthly collective meeting where we have guests that join us from all different parts of the industry. We always want this to be really interactive, so please, if you've got any questions, then pop them in the chat because we would love to hear. And also as well, we always say this, and we really do genuinely mean it. We want this to be a community that's about you. And so if you've got any suggestions for topics, for guests to come on, then again, Nicola and I would really love to hear from you. So without further ado, looking into our agenda for today, we have with us a guest speaker, Gareth Penn. We'll look forward to an introduction to Gareth. Then Nicola, myself and Kate, but it is actually going to be mainly Kate who's going to be doing a workshop for us all about AEB funding, because one of the things that we're getting back is that a lot of colleges are not necessarily using it to the full. And we've got some fantastic suggestions that you can be using, maybe some kind of smaller short courses that you can work quite naturally with some of your kind of main courses to be able to draw down kind of some extra funding for your department. Then we're going to have a look at some industry events, and then we'll give you the dates and times for our next meeting. So that's interesting. I just got a comment in there from Maria. We have an overspend on AEB, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that when we get to that bit, Maria, but great to have you with us. So handing over to Nicola as she introduces our first guest.
Next slide, Mark, please. Okay, so now Mark said in his introduction there that one of the things that we always ask from our community is, do you have any recommendations or suggestions or topics that you would like us to bring to the collective? And this very next person was actually suggested by several people of the existing collective community. And I have been very familiar, I'm sure a lot of you are, with the fantastic work that Gareth does. So I went on a stalking mission to track Gareth down and see if we could bring him today to the collective. So Gareth Penn, he is the Managing Director of the Good Salon Guide, and he is also the CEO and Registrar of the Hair and Barber Council. Now, the work that Gareth does is of paramount importance, really raising the awareness of mandatory regulation. He works so hard alongside government, policy, all different factors and elements of our industry to really be a voice to help with the regulation. And it's really, I'm really looking forward to talking to Gareth today to hear what he has been up to. So we titled this the State of the Industry. So let's introduce Gareth. Good morning, Gareth.
Good morning. Thank you, Nicola. I don't know what to say after an introduction like that. Other than that, I think I need to update the photograph that you've used because it's got a lot fewer greys than I have in reality.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Gareth. I know how busy you are, but can you just start by telling everybody on the call today kind of who you are and what are the main things that you are doing within your role?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I've been in the industry for 25 years, and majority of that time I've been running the Good Salon Guide. And I'm sure many of you know about the Good Salon Guide. So we grade or rate hair and beauty salons and training academies across the UK, Ireland, and UAE in order to educate the public and to educate learners. And then from that, in March of last year, I was asked to become the Chief Exec Registrar of the Hair and Barber Council. And I'm sure most folk know this, but in case anybody doesn't, so the Hair and Barber Council was created by an Act of Parliament way back in 1964 as the statutory authority for hairdressing in the whole of the United Kingdom. So that is from Scotland down to Cornwall and everything in between. And so we are the body to make sure that people are trained, qualified to practice in our sector. What we are lobbying for now is for that to be a mandatory register rather than a voluntary register. And I'll come on to why we passionately feel that a mandatory register would be far, far better for the industry as a whole, for the people working in it, and really importantly for the consumers out there as well. So we spend a lot of our time dealing with politicians from all parties and in all areas of the country, lobbying for our sector, giving our sector a voice about the things that are really impacting us, whether that's apprentices and funding, whether that is employment status and everything in between, to try and get the key thing for us is about being seen as a profession with professionals in it.
Yeah.
And that's what we really work on.
What are the challenges that you come up against to making it mandatory as opposed to voluntary?
So a lot of the issues we face are linked. So, for example, nobody knows how many people work in our sector, which is an unbelievable thing to say. So we know how many learners that you guys are training, and we know how many people will achieve a qualification at the end of their education. That's all we know, because people then go and either work employed, or they go and work self-employed, or they work somewhere in the middle of that. And we'll talk about that maybe a bit more in a mo. But we don't know how many people that is, because there's no central register. So when we then go to government and say, we really think that you ought to have mandatory regulation, they'll say, well, how many people does this impact? We don't know. 300,000? 400,000? We just don't know. There's also an aversion in some sections of government, perhaps more with the party that are in charge in London now than others, that they might see regulation as a barrier to people being able to trade. And we feel that's a really easy argument to make and to knock down, because actually it's about consumer protection, it's about worker protection. And actually we feel that that's a really easy one to win. I would say that our greatest issue is one of respect, that politicians in particular do not respect our sector. They don't see it as a profession. They don't see it as something that they should invest time and that they should invest money in, because they often see an apprenticeship, for example, and I was with the Small Business Minister on Monday of this week. They see an apprentice, a successful apprenticeship, as being something high tech. Let's use Rolls-Royce building jet engines, or BAE Systems making submarines or ships. They see that as a really great apprenticeship and something that can lead to very high wages. They don't really even consider hair and beauty and barbering as being a route that's worth putting a lot of effort into. And so we couldn't disagree with them more, and so spend a huge amount of time explaining why they're wrong, and that this is an amazing industry and that it's a creative industry, and that absolutely they need to invest in it. And I believe we're beginning to win that argument, and that we're starting to get the respect that we deserve.
Well, that's very reassuring, because naturally on this call, in our community, we have hundreds of people that have joined our community now that are so passionate about training the future generation of hairdressers, barbers and beauty therapists. Even though this is a hair and barbering collective, beauty therapy is still one of our heritage sectors as well, and hugely important. And there are so many misconceptions about what a career in this industry looks like, doesn't it? I think you alluded to some of the things there, that they're not high earning, they're not respected the same, which is heartbreaking to hear when you see what actually a lot of people go on to achieve fantastic, rewarding careers, whatever pathway that they go to. You talked a little bit about, so for our community, what is happening in the industry? What is the state of our industry now? What things are going on that are impacting the kind of future?
Yeah, sure. So I think I would kind of put that into two sections. So there's the financial pressures that a lot of salons in particular are facing, and that goes all the way back to COVID. So there's a lot of salons who are still dealing with COVID debt, whether that's bounce back loans, whether that's CBILS if they're a little bit bigger. And I know some of the academies have got issues with those as well. And that's an absolute drain on any business's cash flow, when every single month they have got to repay the bank several £1,000s. And that is absolutely stopping businesses from growing, but also stopping them from surviving. So that's a major issue. And then linked in with that is an issue around employment status. And so I'm sure this is something that everybody on the call is absolutely familiar with, but we've seen and continue to see a huge move from employed status across to self-employed status. And of course, self-employed is an absolutely wonderful and legitimate choice. It is an awesome way in which you can gain control and you can set up your own business, and it's entrepreneurial and absolutely needs to be supported, and we absolutely need to put our weight behind and encourage people to do it. The issue we're facing is that a lot of people are being forced by some unscrupulous employers to become self-employed. So Friday they're employed, paying PAYE, they come in on Saturday and suddenly they're self-employed. And the reason the employer does that is to save tax money on PAYE and to save on VAT, because then they put everybody's turnover, the money they're taking from each client, in its own little pot, and none of them go over the VAT threshold. And so that's having a huge impact in terms of how businesses that are doing things correctly, employed or self-employed, can't compete because they're paying tax, so they need to charge more. And I think that also has a huge impact about training, because the number of apprentices, the number of people who can gain an education in salon falls off a cliff because there's nobody there to be the employer. And that really worries me for now, but it really, really worries me for 5 years down the line. Because in 5 years, if we're not getting enough people training and qualifying, who are going to be our salon owners? How are we going to keep people upskilled if they're not in an environment where they can receive training? And we do see that as a real issue and a real threat to unisex hairdressing and barbering.
Yeah, and I think that not just apprenticeships, but if you look at the FE full time, I mean, we've saw an increase in people wanting to come back into the industry, and the numbers are growing again. Maybe not across the whole of the UK, but certainly the industry is starting to thrive again, and people wanting to become part of it. So I guess the challenge is that if you're in a full-time college course, and your ambition is to work in a fantastic salon, the opportunity is becoming even smaller, isn't it? And I'd love to hear from our community actually of the challenges that they're finding with getting their students into employment, because ultimately the education, regardless of what program you do, is a sightline to employment, isn't it? So, whether you've chosen to do a full-time course in hairdressing, barber and beauty and apprenticeship, I think that that's becoming an issue for them.
Yeah, for sure it is, and it means that we can't then give people the career options that they would like. And it's absolutely fine if people want to finish their formal training at level 2 and then go and set up their own business. Fantastic, that should be applauded. But I think we must also consider how we're going to continue to upskill to meet consumers' demands for more technical services, for services that we can charge more for, and therefore have more profitable businesses from. And so, those are issues that we're lobbying government on directly to make sure that people are doing things correctly, and that we are able then to offer those opportunities to those in training, whatever the training route is that they've taken.
Yeah. So what would be your kind of, how can our community support this lobbying? Is there things that they can be doing to help impact it? Is there more awareness that they need to have? What would be your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I think the first thing I would say is that the more of us that can speak with one voice, the stronger that voice becomes. And so I would really encourage everybody who works in the industry to register with the Hair and Barber Council. And if you pass your NVQ level 2 or you're been working in the industry, it's only £70 a year to join the Hair and Barber Council. And that allows us to go to government and say, we represent all these thousands of people in hair and barbering, you must listen to us. And then linked to that is that if for those who are in education, they can join the Hair and Barber Council completely for free, with no cost to them whatsoever. And we would really encourage you to get all of your learners to join, because by doing so, again, we can go and say, look, we've got all these people in education who are crying out for more support, or are crying out for you to make some changes, please, government. And so, yeah, please do go on to haircouncil.org.uk and register. Would be my call.
Super. Now, we spoke about this prior, Gareth. So when we've got people here who've got large groups of students, and if just to clarify, they can register, all of their students can register if they're on a training program at the moment for free with the Hair and Barber Council. Do they need to do that individually, or can a lecturer do it on behalf of a cohort? Is there a way to do it, or?
Sure. So the answer to your question is both. So they can register individually. They just select membership status as trainee, or we have the option for a lecturer to go on and to add under my team. They go on and add all of the people that they are working with, who they're training, and that's done then in bulk.
Super. And to clarify as well, just for another different people on the call here, you can, whether you're in Scotland or England or Wales, you can do the same process, can't you?
Absolutely. Everywhere across the United Kingdom we work, and so we work with the devolved assemblies. We're working with the local mayors as well. as they get more and more power and influence. So absolutely, we work everywhere. And yeah, absolutely, Nikki, I'll pop the links on there in a minute to share with you.
I lost my train of thought there. I was going to say something. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The I think that the beauty of doing that to make sure that the learners are registered is at grassroots, at the very beginning of their career. We're raising awareness, aren't we, of the importance of being together for the future of this industry. And I think that's a really, really powerful thing, that if you're a student on your program and you're kind of understanding that you are now part of the Hair and Barber Council, you have a voice and you're contributing towards the future of this industry, aren't you?
I think that's exactly right. And that's why I took the leap and gave those in training free membership, because it exactly that. It shows people that you're taking your profession seriously and that it is a profession. It's not just something you're doing because you fancy it, and that you do look to the future. And so, yeah, absolutely, we would encourage as many people as possible to join. And I think one of the other issues that it helps resolve, and this I'm sure will be close to Mark's heart, is that particularly for barbering, the number of barbershops on the high street now is going up. It's seen as a growth sector by some people. However, when you look behind those doors, they are not legitimate businesses. And one of the things that we lobby really hard for is to say, look, if we had mandatory registration, those businesses like the barbershops, and they're often called Turkish barbershops, but they're not that is not a fair description. Those illegal barbershops can be shut down relatively simply. And it gives the guys that are trading properly, who are looking to bring people on, learners on, trainees on, gives them an opportunity to trade fairly. So the more that we can get to register, absolutely the better.
Okay, super. What other kind of important information do you think that our community need to hear today?
Well, it's actually how the community can help us. So if there are issues that are really pressing, you guys are at the forefront of the future of our industry. You have such a responsibility, and we should all be really grateful for the super hard work that you do and all the extra bits that you do that are kind of outside the job description to make sure that we've got superb people coming ready to start work. If you've got issues that are impacting on either you or your learners, please let me know, because I'm sure you're not alone. And if we know about those issues, we can then raise them with Department for Education, with the Department for Small Business, with the Treasury, whatever that might be. And the more that we go with, the more that we can say, look, we need these changes, actually the better. So yeah, please let me know.
Yeah. If anyone's brave enough to put a constructive snapshot of any of the challenges that they've got, please do put them in the chat just now, because I think that's the thing. There is so much that that people you're probably all finding the same challenges along the way. So if anybody does have challenges that they want to share just now, then please put them in there. If not, Gareth, how can they get in touch with you to share their challenges?
So the best way to get in touch with me is through our website, haircouncil.org.uk, and through that there's the contact box. Pop a message in there and it will find its way to me. So please do reach out, whether that's on the phone or on email, and we'd be really happy to discuss that with you. I think I'd also add that if anybody's, all of these learners, these trainees that we bring on, we send them a certificate. So if you want to do a presentation to a large number of your trainees, we're really happy to look to come and visit your academy and to make that presentation and to make the receiving your state registration certificate, something that's really worthwhile, because we know that helps outcomes. So again,
Yeah, I think that's
get in touch.
amazing. Super. Okay, so we've only got a couple of minutes left, Gareth. Is there anything else that you want to add to our discussion?
I think that, you know, we are seeing unprecedented challenges in hair and barbering at the moment. I would just encourage people to keep the faith, because this is an awesome sector, and that, you know, it is all cyclical, and people will come back, and clients will continue to spend money as things improve. And, you know, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of change coming. And so, you know, thank you for all the work you do in bringing learners on, and please keep it up. We love what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And I think don't fear change. There is a lot of change, isn't there? And we will be talking later on in this collective some information about the qualification reform, which I think there's so many different things running alongside each other at the moment. The industry impact, the funding changes, the qualification changes. And I think for us as a collective community, by bringing Gareth on is a perfect example of kind of hopefully helping you as a community have a voice. And that will be exactly the same when we talk to you about the reform. It's very easy to kind of sit back and kind of see all these things unfold. But when we have the opportunity to have a voice and make that impact, I think it's so, so important. And I would imagine even just a small thing like registering your learners on the Hair and Barber Council, the impact of that long term will be significant, won't it?
I think that's right. It's not a quick. There are no quick fixes with politics. You know, it takes time for all these things to go through. And, you know, you just look at with some of the changes coming with beauty treatment regulation, and that's taken years, and it will take years more to do. But the more we stand together, the more we speak with one voice, the more we'll be able to have change. And so, you know, it is an exciting time, and, you know, we want to keep this industry vibrant.
I know that Nikki has put in a challenge, which I think will probably be something echoed by a lot of people, where she says her biggest challenge is around the lack of regulation around certain services not being carried out by non-professionals. Will the register becoming mandatory help with this? So I guess this is about particularly around aesthetics and things like that. I think that's probably one of the areas. Maybe Nikki, I don't know if you can add to that. That's probably one of the biggest areas, isn't it? But yeah, that lack of regulation of people that are not professional and not necessarily having a regulated qualification are able to do significant things. So would the register becoming mandatory help that?
So aesthetics would be outside of our remit, because we only work in hair. However, yes, a mandatory register would help with that, because effectively, if you were not trained, you would not be permitted to carry out treatments. And that would then link through to insurance, because you wouldn't be insured to carry out treatments unless you were on the register. And so, yeah, I mean, hair extensions being an example, lots of people go on YouTube for £100 and then claim to have trained fully in hair extensions. You know, that's a very, very difficult thing to stop, because, you know, you're not in every salon at every time. But, you know, absolutely, we would see a mandatory register as being able to tighten up on all of these treatments that are being carried out by those that are not trained.
And raise the level of professionalism, isn't it, and the quality of the work that is out there, because there are so many people who have trained tirelessly and people who are training these people. So what we want to see is this mandatory regulation, because it does have the knock-on effect with insurance, because that will stop people just being able to open a business, won't it?
No, I mean, it's not designed as being something that stops you opening a business, but it's designed to protect the consumer. Because
Got yeah,
actually,
okay.
if we ask any client, every client I've ever spoken to is horrified that it isn't a mandatory register for hair and barbering, and they think that there is. And so, we're behind the times in terms of where the consumer is. So actually, this is protecting the consumer from those that are unscrupulous.
Hmm. Okay, thank you for your contribution, Nikki, and I'm sure that others on the call will echo that sentiment. Okay, any final words of wisdom for you, Gareth? Otherwise, I am going to move on to our next section.
No, just a big thank you to yourself and to Mark. I think what you're doing here is fantastic to bring everybody together. So yeah, thank you and keep up the good work.
Thank you. And thank you, guys. If anyone does have any final questions for Gareth, please put them in the chat now. If not, Gareth has popped the details in the chat of how to join the Hair and Barber Council. Please, get that opportunity for your learners to be on it. And we will also send you all the information out as a follow-on to this as well. And there's lots of thank yous coming through to you as well. And Gareth has just dropped his email in there as well for you all. So thank you very much, Gareth. Back to you, Mark.
Brilliant, thank you. A massive thanks there, Gareth. It's really great to have somebody like you on the collective, because you can kind of give us a perspective of what's going on within our sector, and also hopefully, how that impacts with politics as well. So that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you for that. So just before we go on to our next little section, I have got a couple of little questions from Maria and Zafina. Zafina and Maria, we will come to those once we kind of get going with the little section that we're going to be doing now on AEB funding. And the reason that we wanted to do this is because we found that a lot of colleges are not really accessing their AEB funding as much as they probably could. And we thought that what we can do is give you some really practical tips on how you can kind of access that. And what we thought we'd do is we would have one of our key account managers join us today. And we've got with us today Kate Smith, who is the key account manager for London. But the great thing about Kate's probably been with us, I could like to say about, is it almost
Kate? Since September.
September, yeah.
Yeah.
So and so Kate's come from being a head of department in a further education college. She had quite a number of departments under her, so she's got that real recent experience. So we thought it would be absolutely brilliant to have you on. So Kate, just kind of kick us off. Do you want to kind of talk us through, what AEB funding is, how people can access it?
Yeah.
But can I just throw in just a couple of things that might you want to be thinking about. Maria has said that they've overspent on their AEB, and also Zafina says, and I think you're going to be covering this as well, how do small businesses that are brilliant at their craft access AEB funding? Because it seems obviously only for FE colleges, and I think you're going to be covering that, so I'm handing it over to you then.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll cover that off as a bit of an introduction. So I worked for a really large college who was often given a decent amount of money, but we weren't very good at spending it, and a couple of times it actually got clawed back. And I admit I probably didn't make use of my account managers that I could have contacted for 7 or 8 awarding bodies that I worked with that would have been able to help me and support me with guidance as to what qualifications I could actually roll out for my existing students. Eventually we got better at it and I became a little bit of an expert, and we managed to hit our spend every year. It was great because then your spend gets increased, and obviously that money comes in and you can spend it on the students, the adults, but sometimes there's enough to then buy some new equipment, do a little bit of renovation that works towards it as well. So it's a great thing to have. But yes, it's often more for the FE colleges, so prime funded colleges, colleges that are government funded, and they can almost bid for it automatically. But that's not to say that private academies can't access it as well. There are a number of large training providers who are classed as private who do have access to AUB. But also there's methods of subcontracting for smaller private centres as well. So what often happens is an FE college is given their allocation, but potentially they don't have the staff or the salon space to actually run these additional courses. So what then happens is they have to pay back the money that they've given. What they can do is they can work with smaller training providers and actually share that drawdown of funding with them. So I think there was a question, I think it was Safina. Hi, Safina. There's an area that you can explore there. We can't provide guidance on who you go to, how you set it up contractually, and you have to make sure you are using your due diligence as well if you are approaching an FE provider. But I have got lots of centres in my area, which is London and Essex, that are partnered with some of the larger FE colleges offering specialist courses. So for example, makeup's really popular because a lot of FE colleges don't have a makeup studio. They've got hair and beauty, but they just haven't got the space for makeup, nor have they got the staff that are qualified as makeup artists who want to come and teach. It's one of those areas, as most of you know, they can make a lot of money as a freelance makeup artist or working for TV and film. It's quite hard to recruit them into an FE establishment. So what they do is they might draw down the funding for the students, but all the students actually go and train at the private provider. And what I've done is I've put together a bit more information that I'm not going to share in these live slides now, but Mark's going to send out a little bit more guidance. It's a slightly bigger presentation that gives you step by step what you need to do for subcontracting, who you should approach, some government website that you can have a look at, because the options are there for you. So private providers, please don't think this section is not for you. There might just be a bit of legwork that goes with actually being able to support your FE providers. And ultimately, those relationships with FE providers are fantastic. The FE colleges are screaming out for professionals that are in private academies to come and meet with their students, help with assessment. Obviously, you've got to be a little bit careful because you are competitors. But if you are offering courses that they're not offering, that's a relationship there that needs to be tapped into. So please do approach your FE colleges. They'd be really, really pleased to hear from you. What was the other question? Go on, Mark.
Yeah, so can I just quickly jump in there? Because I
course
kind of
you
want to pull Nicola into this one, because Nicola, we
Yeah.
had a question from Nikki. Because Nikki wants to know, and I know that you are obviously doing a lot of work in Scotland at the moment. So is this funding available in Scotland?
So, Nikki, the short answer is the funding isn't available in Scotland, simply because we have a different funding mechanism here in Scotland, but we still have access to doing what Kate is talking about. So what Kate is going to be showing, because in England, the budgets are split up very much in the funding's 16 to 19, 14 to 16 adults, whereas in Scotland, you have bursary programs and you have Skills Development Scotland, and you have different ways of accessing your pots of money. And essentially in England, you're quite restricted because you can't build your programs out with a certain remit, whereas in Scotland, this is what we are showing here is what Claire and I took everybody through on the presentation this week. So it's about adding bolt-ons on that are fundable. So they won't be funded through the AEB mechanism, but they are fundable, which means that in your nation, if you're in Wales as well watching this, you will be able to still access funding, but not the title of adult education funding, that is England centric, but you will be able to access these bolt-ons, but through a different mechanism. I hope that makes sense.
Brilliant. So Kate, do you want me to go on to the first slide?
Yes, and I think there was a question about overspend as well. So I might just cover that quickly, or I might
Okay.
forget about it when we get to the end. So I think it might have been one of my centres that said that they have had an overspend. And if you are one of my centres, as in you are in London, I believe that, yes, hi Maria. I believe what's going to happen, because I've had a few centres contact me this week, is that the mayor's office are going to claw back some money from those that have underspent, and then hopefully it's going to be reallocated to those that have hit their spend, which will be fantastic. And well done to you for offering so much adult provision and spending it all. That's a real testament to forward planning, and hopefully this will be useful to anyone that, like me, used to struggle with their spend and not know where to start. Hopefully this will really help you, because no one ever showed me this, so hopefully this is handy for you. So if you have got access to the AUB funding, or you're starting a subcontract with an FE college, the best thing that you can do, start to think about what students have I already got, what programs are they on, and what could I offer to either tag on to their programs, whether that's something quite small, and I'm going to run through some examples in a minute, or when you're thinking about what your offer is for your general quals, like hair level 2 and hair level 3, make sure you're offering the version that is actually hits these categories, because then it means if you have got adults on the course, you're tapping into that funding if you are able to. So there is a website that I have linked there, and it'll be in the presentation. You'll be able to click directly on it when Mark sends the presentation out. This is something we call LARS, which is the Learning Aim Reference Service. So you find a qualification, or you've got an idea of what you would like to offer. What you can do is you can search by name, you can search by qualification number, you can search by VTCT if you want to, and just click on either legal entitlement, local flexibilities, and level 3 free courses for jobs. And it will tell you what the funding is, how much it is, and when it's actually going to expire. So for this example that I've got up here, you can see there that actually this is a qualification. I think this was hairdressing level 3 general, that you could have all your 16 to 19s, your ABs, and anyone that gets a learner loan all in one group, because it's valid for all of them. So just make sure that you're checking the dates. Next slide, please, Mark. Thank you. So when you are then thinking about what you're going to offer, you may have looked it up already, you've got your amount, it will tell you exactly how much it's worth. And I kind of slot them into these 3 different categories that you've got on the screen at the moment. So your quick wins, and I'm going to talk through them in a minute, they're going to be your very short courses. They might only be worth about £50, but they're really easy to tag on to what you're already offering. You've then got your certificates and awards. They're going to be slightly larger. They might be worth up to 100. And then you've got your full diplomas, which can be worth anything up to £1,500, sometimes a bit more as well. So we're going to have a little look at some examples using all the qualifications that you've got access to as a VTCT centre. Now, what some of you might not know is you can probably see the logos above me. I've got iTech and Skills First up there as well. And Skills First have got some absolutely fantastic enrichment qualifications that are funded that you can add onto your provision. So I've got some examples in there for you. So if you haven't already accessed the Skills First suite, just contact your account manager and set up a meeting, and they can go through with you what might be suitable to add on to your offer. Mark, do you want to chip in there? I can see you're ready. Were you going to say something?
No, I was actually just totally agreeing with you.
Oh, yeah.
Kate, and I think sometimes that's what the situation is that some of the colleges are not necessarily aware of some of those courses on the Skills First platform. And in talking with some of them, they are using them for the induction program. And the benefit of that is that because some of the guided learning hours are quite small, that their students are able to get a real qualification within those kind of first couple of weeks of being at college, which of course, you know, adds in lots of other benefits as well. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
that was why. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. So do have a look on the Skills First website, not just for AEB funded qualifications, but have a look at what else you've got access to as well to increase your provision. Next slide, please. Thank you. So these are the real quick wins that you could do. So say, for example, you've got students on level 2 hairdressing or level 3 hairdressing. These qualifications are all relevant to them that could either be delivered alongside other units or at induction, as Mark said. So a great one for your level 2 hairdressers when they're starting is the award in preventing contact dermatitis. Please just note that you've got the registration fee there and the funding. So obviously you're going to need to just consider the reg fee vs the funding, because sometimes you can get caught out. The funding might be £50, but the reg fee might be £50. So actually that one's probably not worth having as part of your AEB plan. So do just have a look at those as well. You've then got skin cancer awareness for non-healthcare professionals. Again, that's good for everyone, not just hairdressing students. You could put everybody in your hair, beauty and makeup if you've got those sectors as well. And then the mental health awareness qualification. This has been really, really popular. It's only 6 hours. It's got a small amount of funding to it, and the funding that's allocated is usually based on the GLH, hence why that one is slightly less than the 2 above it. And this qualification has all the resources available as well, so you haven't got to prep anything. And obviously it's something that's really, really important, not just for adults but for young people as well. There is a Skills First version too, so we've got a couple of options with the mental health awareness. Next slide. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so these are the slightly larger ones, which, as you can see, are worth a little bit more. So the top one there, again, is a Skills First Level 1 award in managing your own money. Great for everyone. And the actual content can lead to some really fantastic conversations about, and I mean, I'm not saying you want to spend an hour talking about inflation and bank accounts and scams and things like that, but they're really important, again, for your 16 to 19s and for your adults, and the funding attached to it is great, and it's just a portfolio of evidence. So there will be a little bit of marking attached, but we're not getting you to mark a 30-question exam paper or anything like that. It's just a portfolio of evidence. And the same applies to the one below, the award in equality and diversity. 16 hours, £100 funding with a reg fee of 25. Fantastic to have on a CV. Now, the next one down is head massage. And again, I know we're in a hairdressing collective, but this could be offered to beauty therapy as well. And it has got a really nice amount attached to it. It's 30 hours. You could assess it alongside your shampoo and conditioning. If it's beauty, you could assess it alongside massage. So you're not actually asking for your assessors and your IQA to pick up too much additional work in order to draw down the funding. And obviously it's another certificate and qualification for your students. Then we get down into the slightly larger ones, and these work really well for adults for a Saturday course or an evening course. So you've got your nail technology qualification, which can be worth up to £390, and the award in makeup, which can be up to £390. And the great thing about those two is they could often lead to progression as well. So you can get them in on a funded course, evenings or weekends, and then you might find that actually that converts to them becoming a full-time student and pursuing either nails full-time or sidestepping into hairdressing, and the same with makeup artistry as well. Next slide, please, Mark. Thank you. And then these are your big ones. So these are the ones that you really need to think about at the beginning of the year or forward thinking around now, ready for next September. So these are the full qualifications, as it were. The student can go out and be employed in these roles within the sectors with these. So you can see there that actually the reg fees are really reasonable in comparison to the funding that you're going to draw down for it. So the certificate in barbering, 137. So again, perfect for an adult evening course or weekends. And you could draw down up to 941. The certificate in women's hairdressing is larger, so you've got a full qualification there. That might be a couple of days a week. And the same below, I've added a beauty one in there as well, just for info. Like I said, I know this is hairdressing and barbering, but that's there as well for you. And that is one we used to personally run at the college as an evening course and a Saturday course, and draw down £1,645 for it. So these are your ones that you want to get into your curriculum plan ASAP. Now, the good thing about these as well is they are the most updated versions of our qualifications too. So we refreshed all of our VRQs in the summer. We updated the range and we updated statements and imagery so that they are more diverse, they're gender neutral where possible. And these qualifications are those ones as well. And when the presentation gets sent out to you, in the notes box at the bottom of the slide, it's got the direct link to the qualification pages as well. So you can have a look at what units are involved in these qualifications too. Next slide, Mark, if there is one. Here we go. And then this was just an example that I've put together for you based on what a student could achieve without, as I said, actually putting too much on your assessors. So they're on the certificate in women's hairdressing. You could add on the level 2 award in hair massage, deliver it alongside shampoo and condition, assess it alongside a specialist treatment or conditioning, and then pop them on the contact dermatitis, deliver it in induction week, assess it alongside health and safety. And you could claim for those certificates earlier on, so those students really get that sense of achievement. Oh, I've got my certificates already for that. And that really does help with motivation as well.
Brilliant.
Is there another slide, or is that my last one?
The one
Oh,
on,
yes.
yeah.
This one, and then I'll open it up to any questions. So as Nicholas said earlier about the nations, it is actually also slightly different for London as well. And I'm really sorry to areas outside of London, but they have got more flexibility. They can actually request which qualifications they want added to their AEB. And big thanks to the lovely lady in this image here. This is Sal with me and Mark when we went to visit her, and some of Sal's staff were on this call. Sal actually wrote to the Mayor's office and has managed, with her business case that she put forward, London, you can actually access the higher level beauty certificates, awards, and the level 3 access to aesthetics as part of your AEB provision. So I know I've got some smaller providers on here as well. They're definitely ones that you could potentially approach your FE colleges to see if you could offer subcontractually as well. So big thanks from everyone at VTCT to Sal for getting that through for London as well.
And can I just throw in as well there, Kate? I was talking to one of our centres yesterday, Blackpool Wide, I think it is.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they said is that with their AEB funding, you've got adults in the college, so you really want to give them the best experience, but also, you know, to use your kind of funding to the best that you can. And some of the ones that they do, they put, you know, across with their adults were things like gel polish,
yeah,
spray tanning, threading, the skin cancer awareness that you were talking about. But they also as well added in things like the employability,
yeah,
the customer service, preparing to run a hair and beauty business,
yeah,
and the certificate in nail technology as well. So there are plenty of opportunities there.
There's
to
loads.
kind of add that additional AEB funding. And the thing that we would really encourage is, if you are a VTCT centre, you will have a key account manager. So take the time, you know, if you kind of need that support and help to maximise that funding. And also for our colleagues that are on the call from Scotland today, you've got Nicola and Claire. Please, you know, use us as kind of support, because what we want to do, the more successful that you are with the courses that you run and the quality that you give to your students, then obviously that is going to have a positive impact for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's very easy to get into a habit of just offering your level 2 hair, your level 3 hair, you've got all the basics there. But sometimes you really need to reflect on what else those students need and what else can you be giving them, and not being shy of thinking outside the box and adding those additional quals on there, because we've all seen a 16, 17-year-old CV, especially in our hair and beauty areas. It might have 3 or 4 GCSEs on it and that's it, no work experience, nothing else. So if they can then start collecting other certificates that they can then build up their CV whilst working on those vocational skills, that's just fantastic for them, especially if they've struggled at school and not achieved a lot. Because like we said, a lot of the skills first qualifications, it's just a portfolio of evidence. There's no exam. They can build on it as they go and just really get a nice collection of certificates by the time they finish with you.
That's brilliant. We've got Safina. She said she's going to make an appointment with you, Kate.
Yeah,
so
do.
look forward to that one.
Yeah.
Jane, unfortunately, has got to leave us.
Thank you,
But
Jane.
hopefully she'll pick up on that. But just as a quick, is there any questions? Has anybody got any questions that they'd either like to ask Kate specifically about AEB funding and what she's spoken about today? There doesn't seem to be any at the moment. So we will
Absolutely
move
fine.
on.
I'm staying on anyway. So if anyone pops anything in the chat, I will answer. But yeah, please contact your account manager if you want to know more.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Kate. That was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
So handing back to Nicola now, who's just going to talk to us a little bit about the qualification reform update.
Schoolgirl error there on mute. Yeah, we've been talking quite a lot about the qualification reform update, and there is so much going on at the moment with the defunding of qualifications. And with the defunding of qualifications comes an exciting opportunity to design further new qualifications. So VTCT are currently working on our qualification design for hairdressing, barbering and beauty therapy. Now we are running lots of workshops to give you the opportunity to have your voice. Now, I will caveat this with, at this stage, we are looking for employers, and you're all going to sit on the call and go, well, I'm not an employer. You're not an employer, or you may be, you may have commercial aside, you may work industry as well. But ultimately, employers, all FE colleges will have a network of employers that you work with. So we're urging you to share this with your employers, because employers are going to have the opportunity, as well as providers, but this is a separate thing at the moment, to have a look at what the qualification of the future looks like. And it's so, so important to get involved in this work, because if you look at if we give opportunities at every stage along the way, as do all awarding organisations. But if we want to have a say on whether that qualification really is fit for purpose, fit for industry, linking back to what Gareth spoke about earlier on, then I think it's so, so important that you get involved. Mark, would you be able to just open up the page just so I can kind of talk it through a little bit here? So there is a page on the VTCT website called Qualification Reform, and it will just be useful information for you, even if you're not an employer or are not able to share this with your employers. If you just scroll up, Mark, a little bit, please. This talks a little bit about the cycle of development, what's actually happening within the qualifications. And as we know, because we've shared this quite a lot of times in the past, that some qualifications are going to be losing funding, and they're going to be streamlining what the occupational journey looks like for any student in any qualification. And you'll see here that there are the timeline on it. If you just scroll down further, Mark. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So for us to submit qualifications, we need input from everybody. And the first stage is, yes, to have employer input. And you can see all of the routes that we've got here. So there's everything from makeup, beauty therapy, nail services, hairdressing and barbering. So we would urge you to, if you are working commercially yourself, please participate in this. If you're not working commercially in this yourself, but you do have access to your employers, then it's a really, really great opportunity to get them involved. This is an ongoing process, but without the input from industry, we are not working to the best of our abilities to be able to kind of, you know, get the right program so that it is fit for purpose, because ultimately you are going to be teaching these programs moving forward. So again, we'll put the information in on the qualification reform. Really would encourage you to share it with your employers. And as I say, if you do work industry yourself at all, then please also register to join these. So yeah, as many people can get involved as possible, that would be amazing, because we ultimately, as that says there, we need your expertise. We need your expertise as a training provider, and we need your employer network that you will all be working very closely with. We need their input as well. So it's a we need you shout out.
So that QR code there is the QR code if people want to scan that, and that will bring them to that page to get involved in the in those events, and we would really appreciate you doing that. Thank you for that, Nicola. So just to give you all a update on the VTCT Collective Live, drum roll, we have our final tour date. And Nicola, would you like to tell us about the hairdressing guest artist that we have for
Yes,
that?
so we're ending the tour in Wales. So I know this isn't relevant to everybody on here, but it's great to just kind of share the love of what we're doing. And we are very pleased to announce that we have Casey Coleman, who is a multi-award winning colorist, stylist, all round kind of. If you're on TikTok or Instagram, you can't fail to have seen him because he's got about 300,000 followers. He's particularly passionate about vivid colouring and editorial styling, and yeah, he's a great passion and a strong advocate for Wales, because he's very proudly Welsh and very proud of supporting the nation. So we're excited to have Casey Coleman join us.
So again, if you were able to join us for that event, it is on the 1st of May at Bridgend College. Grab the QR code there, because that will bring you straight to the Eventbrite page where you can book a ticket. And remember, these events are free for you and your students, and we would love to see you there if you're able to be there.
Can I just add in that if you have, sorry, just go back one sec there. If you have attended, because that will be our 10th date. So if you have attended a Collective Live tour event, now we started last November, this is the longest tour known to man. We are about to start the scoping and planning for the next series of collectives. So if you attended and we have your details, we will be sending you out information. We will be sending you to ask for quite detailed feedback about what you've enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy so much, what you'd like to see more of, all of the different things and elements that will shape the future of the next tour will very much come from what people have thought about the last tour. So please, when you see that email asking you for your feedback, we really, really would appreciate it, because knowledge before assumption, we really want to make sure that we are shaping a collective program that is suitable for everybody. So just watch out for that.
Brilliant, thank you. And with some industry events, do you want to talk about the first one there?
So this was just really a good luck shout out. So if there are any centres on here that are at the AHT National Finals at the 11th and 12th of May in Blackpool, so 2 days worth of hairdressing, barbering and beauty, I will be there. I've judged across quite a lot of the AHT regional heats, and I'm also a national finals judge. So I am just saying a shout out and a massive good luck, having seen the standard of work, the commitment, the passion and the desire from the students and from their staff that support them so fantastically. I'm really excited to see the finals. So if you are there, good luck. If you are there, please come and say hello as well. I'd love to speak to you.
And my shout out is for the Generation Barber event. If you're not aware of it, this is going to be the second year of this event that's run by Mike Taylor from Mike Taylor Training. A lot of you will know him because he does a lot of work within colleges. The actual event is on Monday, the 20th of May. It's at Bournemouth. The address is there. It's at the City Gate Church, Bournemouth. But the key thing that I want to mention today is that they have the competition, the QR code there. So if you scan the QR code, it will bring you to the Google form, which allows you to enter your students to enter for the barbering competition. And the details are on there. But the closing date for that one is literally in about 3 days' time. So it's on the 28th of April. There's some fantastic prizes. I'm going to be posting some stuff on my Instagram account later. But if you go on and you follow Mike Taylor and look up Generation Barber, you'll get all of the details there as well. So there's the QR code. Scan that to get your students involved in that competition. It's a great event, lots of barbering going on there on the 20th of May. And if you are coming to that, then I look forward to kind of seeing you there as well. And just before we close, Kate, there's a question here for you. It says, are you able to make connections of those who are looking for subcontractors, or is this not ethical as we have to search ourselves?
It's more, it's GDPR based more than anything. So what we can do is I can certainly help you look at what FE colleges are in your area. And then what I have put in the slides that are going to be sent out to you is just made a suggestion of the person that you need to contact. Normally they're called the business development manager. So that's when you can then contact. Most colleges have a contact at the college name, email address, and you can put an email together or phone or pop in and find out who that person is, and then you can set it up from there. So we can't help you. I can't link you up. I can't send you introductory emails or anything, but I can give you advice as to who to contact and where.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Kate. And finally, just a massive thank you for joining us today. We've had some really great guests. We've had Gareth and we've had Kate. Remember that you do have key account managers if you are part of the VTCT family. If you're not, then reach out to us, because we would love to have a conversation. We are here to support and help you to be successful in your curriculum. The next date for our VTCT online collective is the 15th of May at 10 o'clock. And before we go, Nicola, would you like to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, spot the deliberate mistake, everybody. It is not on Monday, the 15th of May, because Monday is the 12th of May, and you will all hopefully be at the national finals competing to win for your colleges. So it is the 15th of May. Please disregard the Monday. If you have already registered in advance, because I know a lot of people register in advance, I updated it on the Zoom, so you will have automatically got the correct calendar invite day into you anyway, but it is the 15th of May. Disregard the Monday.
Thank you so much. There you are. It's always good to have somebody that has got different eyes on it as well. So Maria just says as well, thank you all. So yeah, a massive thank you, Nicola and Kate, Gareth, and we're really pleased that you've enjoyed it today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you all next month, guys.